The secret mission to the dark side of the moon. You ever get the feeling you're not supposed to be somewhere? Like you're walking through a place and something deep down just screams, "Turn back"? Yeah, well, that's pretty much how I felt the whole time during our secret mission to the dark side of the moon. Now, I know what you're thinking. Secret mission? Aren't those all Hollywood stuff? I used to think the same thing, until NASA briefed us. It was about 20 years ago. We were told that there was an anomaly on the dark side of the moon that the public didn't know about. Something picked up by satellites decades ago, but kept under wraps. Our mission was simple: land, investigate, and return. No press, no public announcements. Just a few of us in a small shuttle sent into the void to find whatever it was. The crew, just me, and I name them by now, Bennett, our commander, and two other specialists, Fisher and Taylor. We weren't given much detail, just that this wasn't an ordinary recon mission. Classified, they said. And you know, when you hear classified, you get this pit in your stomach because you know something's up, right? The trip there was quiet, eerily so. We orbited the moon a couple of times before dropping into the dark side. The thing about the dark side of the moon? It's still. Like, really still. You look out the window and all you see is black. No light, no stars. Just this oppressive nothingness. Creeps you out more than I can explain. We landed near a set of coordinates NASA had sent us. The surface looked like any other part of the moon. Dusty, cratered, lifeless. But those coordinates. They led us to a spot that was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Bennett had us suit up and head out. No words. Just silent nods as we stepped onto the lunar surface. We were all tense, like we could feel something was wrong even before we saw it. We walked for what felt like hours, but it was probably just 20 minutes. And then, out of nowhere, we saw it. A massive structure half buried in the moon's surface, almost like the moon had swallowed it up over time. It was huge, easily the size of a football field, smooth, metallic, with sharp angles that didn't belong there. This thing was not natural. No one said a word. We just stared. I remember looking at Bennett, and he was pale, like he knew something about this that the rest of us didn't. "Let's move," he finally said, his voice cracking over the comms. "We're going in." Now, here's the thing. No one briefed us on what this thing was. No mention of it in any history books or reports. So when we approached the structure and found what looked like an entry point, a massive door sealed shut, my heart was pounding. It wasn't fear, not exactly. More like a gut feeling that whatever was inside, we weren't supposed to see it. Fisher and Taylor started scanning it, trying to figure out how to get inside. There were no markings, no panels, no obvious way in. That's when Bennett pulled out a small device from his suit. I didn't recognize it. Looked like some high-tech thing I'd never seen before. "Backup plan," he muttered. He pressed it against the door and it started to hum. Within seconds, the door slid open. No noise, no creaks, just a smooth, eerie silence. Inside, the air was different. We're on the moon, right? No atmosphere. But in there, it felt like stepping into a tomb. Cold, suffocating, like the air was too thick, pressing down on us. We walked in single file, our helmet lights barely cutting through the darkness. The walls were smooth like the outside, but as we moved deeper, they started to curve, forming tunnels that led further into the structure. And then, we started hearing the sound. At first, it was faint, like a distant hum. But as we kept going, it grew louder. It echoed in our suits, vibrating through the soles of our boots. Fisher turned to me at one point, wide-eyed. "You hear that?" he asked. "Yeah," I replied. "But I don't think it's just a sound." He didn't ask me what I meant. I don't think he wanted to know. The deeper we went, the more surreal it became. The walls began to glow with these strange symbols. Alien, not like anything from Earth. They shifted and pulsed, as if they were alive, reacting to our presence. Then, the shadows started moving. At first I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me, you know? Space messes with your head sometimes. But these shadows weren't normal. They darted along the walls, always just out of sight, disappearing the moment you turned to look at them directly. Bennett noticed too, but didn't say a word. He just kept leading us further in, like a man on a mission. Like he knew we had to see something. And that's when we found it. At the center of the structure, in this massive chamber, there was a pod. It looked ancient, covered in the same strange symbols that lined the walls. But the thing that freaked me out most, it was glowing. Not bright, not enough to light the room, but it had this eerie blue shimmer, like it was alive. Bennett walked right up to it, no hesitation, and placed his hand on the surface. Before I could stop him, the pod opened. The hiss of air was the first thing I noticed. It was like nothing I've ever saw before. Metallic, decayed, ancient. Inside the pod, something stirred. We all froze. My heart stopped. A figure sat up. Humanoid, but definitely not human. Its skin was pale, translucent even. And its eyes, God, those eyes. Black voids, like they swallowed everything. It looked at Bennett, and for a second I swear it smiled. Then everything went to hell. The walls pulsed violently, the symbols glowing brighter, faster. The shadowy figures on the walls? They weren't shadows anymore. They were real, creeping toward us, closing in. I don't remember how we got out of there, just that we ran. Full sprint through those alien tunnels, shadows nipping at our heels. By the time we reached the surface, my suit's oxygen alarm was blaring. We made it back to the lander, barely, and launched off that rock without a second thought. The whole time, I kept looking back at that structure, expecting that thing, the one from the pod, to be watching us. When we got back, they debriefed us. Everything was classified, sealed up. No one outside our crew will ever hear about what we found, and I'm not sure I even want them to. Whatever that thing was, it wasn't friendly. And it's still out there, on the dark side of the moon.